may get crepe Suzette out of your system by exercising, but bad gasoline in your car's system does long-lasting damage. As gasoline evaporates, it deposits harmful sludge which interacts with metals in your car's fuel system, causing gas to go rancid. Stale gas looks cloudy, smells like paint thinner, and gunks up your car's fuel injectors. Like too much French food clogs your arteries. So do what James Dean would. Go heavy on the béarnaise sauce, but keep your tank filled with fresh gas. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. On missions, master spies synchronize their watches. In ballets, talented choreographers synchronize their dancers. Tell you all about it. O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Like the Mission Impossible team goes forward by synchronizing their watches, manual transmissions go forward by synchronizing their gears. For smooth transitions as you shift, the rotational speed of one set of forward gears is matched by synchronizer rings to the speed of meshing gears. Reverse gear, however, is not synchronized, so it sometimes grinds in protest. Here's a hint. Don't force it. Just push the clutch in and pause a few seconds, then try it again. Now you're in sync with both your gears. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Sagittarius, Capricorn, Cancer. All sun signs that astrologists claim tell us something about a person. Cars have signs too that tell us if they're stolen. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Blue nautical signs say smooth sailing. Yellow yield signs say slow down. Here are some red-hot signs that indicate the used car you're considering may be stolen. The vehicle identification number or VIN number on the title and on the car itself don't match, and the engine ID number is scratched off. License plates or plate bolts are brand new. Ignition switches feel loose, and keys are copies, not originals. Be aware, knowing these signs of red-hot theft can help you keep your hard-earned green. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. We all know beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But in whose eye would this scene be ideal? Being left outside, wet, and minus 45 degrees centigrade. When I come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Brr! I'd hate to be a subject in the cold climate test facility in Manitoba, Canada, Ford's proving ground for the winter worthiness of its fleet of vehicles. Typical cold climate testing includes leaving vehicles outside overnight, sometimes wet, starting them in the morning, and measuring engine performance, heater function, and interior controls. Yes, cars, trucks, and their drivers are subjected to the most severe abuse Mother Nature can dole out. Volunteers, anyone? Not me. My favorite pile of white stuff is a big sand dune. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Happy 4th of July. Here we go. Yes, that's right. We're live. I mean, what are you doing here? This is a live broadcast, really, on July the 4th. Well, naturally, there's a lot going on July the 4th. It's a great weekend, so from all of the Car Clinic crew here and from the center of the automotive universe, I want to wish each and every one of you a happiest 4th of July and also a safe 4th of July. You know, it was actually known as Independence Day. It's been a federal holiday in the U.S. since 1941, but tradition goes back much further. I will share a little bit of that with you a little later on in the program. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this 4th of July by K-Seal. Hey, folks, it pays to be prepared. Make sure you keep a bottle of K-Seal in your trunk so you can stop potential cooling system leaks should you get caught out on the highway and have a radiator or a water pump or an engine block or head gasket. You can find K-Seal at stores like O'Reilly Auto Parts, and you can check the store website for hours and shipping information so that you can just have a bottle shipped to your house. And remember, if you do have any sorts of cooling system leaks, don't just seal it, K-Seal it. Ceramic particles is the secret behind K-Seal. But don't tell anyone I mentioned that. 888-227-2546. 888 Car Clinic. Coming up, we're going to take a little cruise to Daytona Beach, to the International Daytona Speedway when we come back. A 2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and caps, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at motorrad.com. Our inbox has been especially full these past few weeks as people are looking for advice regarding keeping their vehicles road ready. Jim from Dallas wrote, "What can I do to make sure my vehicles are prepared and ready to go?" Jim, the economic impact of the current health crisis has touched every hardworking American. Making your dollar stretch further is more important than ever before. Commuting to grocery stores and other essential outlets has changed the way most Americans drive. Shorter trips and lower operating temperatures can increase the probability of carbon buildup in your vehicle's engine combustion chamber. Look to Berryman products to help maintain optimum performance and MPG. Berryman's intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner is a simple-to-use kit that can truly add fuel economy, better performance, and longevity to your vehicle's engine. Regular use of Berryman B12 fuel system cleaner can assist you in maintaining a clean and healthy fuel injection system. Check out Berryman products' complete line of maintenance and cleaning products designed for do-it-yourselfer and professional technicians alike at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grown, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started, folks. The tradition of Independence Day celebrations goes back to the 18th century and the American Revolution. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence, and 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence, a historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. From 1776 to present day, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence, with festivities ranging from fireworks, parades, and concerts to more casual family gatherings and barbecue. With that said, a little more history a little later on in the program, but happy 4th of July. And I want to welcome to the center of the automotive universe, from the racing capital of the world, Terry Sabiston. Terry is a longtime friend, and he is the motorsports director for our inaugural 28 years ago WNDB 1150 News Talk AM there in Daytona Beach. Terry, it's been 10 years since sports car racing has competed at Daytona International Speedway during midsummer. I want to welcome you again to this special broadcast of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Always great to have you in the house. Welcome from Daytona.
Well, thank you, Bobby, and to everybody out there. I hope you enjoy your Independence Day. I'm proud to be a part of this, celebration on the radio, and also Daytona International Speedway. We got cars on track today. Doesn't get any better than that at Daytona International Speedway.
Well, don't you realize that there's like something going on here, a global pandemic, and yet you just can't hold them back. You know what it is, Terry? It's all that horsepower.
It is, and it's the IMSA WeatherTech 240 rolls off at 6 o'clock tonight. Got a practice session coming up here shortly, qualifying this afternoon. Fans are back at the track, back at Daytona International Speedway. It's been sitting there empty, not exactly quiet. We've had they have the NASCAR driving experience been going on and off during this. You hear them every now and then, but looking forward to hearing that roar of those cars out there running that 3.56 mile road course for 2 hours and 40 minutes. On the 4th of July, it's been 10 years since we had sports cars here. Normally we have NASCAR racing going on around this time, but they've moved that to August this year. And so this was supposed to be a quiet weekend here at Daytona. And it's not going to be quiet. It's going to be fun. And it's so exciting to think that this is the IMSA WeatherTech's first race since the Rolex. They literally canceled Sebring within days before. With everything that was going on. So they're coming, they started at Daytona, and they're starting over again at Daytona. Instead of 24 hours, it'll be 200, they're calling it the 240, which will be 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it'll be a little sprint race compared to what we had back here in January.
Well, to that end, Terry, I remember, I forget what year it was, when there were no lights on the Daytona International Speedway. And can you imagine maybe being, and I'm not sure who supplied the lights, but let's just say it was Sylvania. Can you imagine getting a phone call from the executives at Daytona International Speedway and said, we need to order some lights? Well, yeah, how many would you need? A lot, because there's a lot of power there. And I understand that the track and the local officials are working with government officials and with the state health department. And this seating is limited to 5,000 feet, 5,000 people. So for folks listening there in the Daytona area, only Florida residents are allowed. And the tickets are just $30. Children under 12 get in free. And you can go to the Daytona International Speedway.com or call 1-800-PIT-SHOP. S-H-O-P, Pit Shop. And so, Terry, what do you think the crowd's going to be?
I know some people that I've talked to that have tickets, and they said the way they've set up their tickets is that each section is going to have 5 places where you sit. So in a section of, say, like 25 seats, up in one corner will be 4 seats. Up in another corner will be 4 seats. Down in another corner will be 4 seats. Another 4 down the other corner, and then 4 in the middle. So you're going to be distanced from everybody when you get there. You're also going to have to sign a COVID-19 waiver. There's paperwork, and they're going to check your temperature. It's that keeping it safe process, and that's what it's all about. I don't know if you've heard, but Jimmy Johnson has been reported with COVID-19 as of yesterday. So he's not running the Indy race this weekend for NASCAR. He's out of it until he goes through the process, and let's hopefully he'll get through this just fine. His wife actually had tested positive, so he tested positive. So you got to be careful, and that's what part of this is just making sure we're following the safety protocols to go out there and interact with other people that are going to, especially the people at the track and stuff, because they're going to have to move on to another track. They're going to have to keep doing this. So we got to keep everybody safe. So
let's shift gears and give us an overview of the type of vehicle and the horsepower, the speeds, etc. of this particular classic car race.
Well, we have 3 classes. We've got the Daytona prototypes, the GTD, which is GT Daytona, and the GTLM. And the Daytona prototypes are the fast guys. They're the exotic-looking cars that no two are exactly the same, but they've got some chassis that are all the same. The motors are the most technological motors that you can put into vehicles today. The technology, and that's what's great about all this technology that's involved with these cars, whether it be a Cadillac or Acura, it's all transferred to the cars that you're buying out there on the street. And this is where a lot of the science and research behind it happens, is on the racetrack. You don't push your car like these guys do. So they're testing out ways to make reliability just a normal part of what car performance is, and it's come a long way. The Daytona prototypes, they'll hit probably right at close to over 200 miles an hour at sections of the track coming through the tri-oval and at part of the back stretch. but then you got to dive coming out of the tri-oval. You head down to turn 1, and you make a very, very, very sharp, almost complete U-turn and bring those speeds way down and dive into the infield road course, which is about a mile-long infield road course that's just a flat surface that you really have to tiptoe around just as fast as you can go. I've been lucky enough to do exotic driving out there and drive a car around that infield road course, and it pushes the limits, making those corners from transitioning from a straightaway down to a 100-mile-an-hour straightaway to a 30-mile-an-hour corner, and that's it. The speeds vary. Between the different classes, there's different performance between the Daytona prototypes, the GTLM, GTD. So you're going to have some cars, the top speeds 160 miles an hour, with the Daytona prototype coming by at 180, 190. And so those closing speeds are what's a big deal. We are looking at a chance of some rain this afternoon, but that has very little impact on these guys. They throw some rain tires on, and as long as the rain's not raining sideways, they will roll off at 6 o'clock and finish at 8:40 after 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I just cannot imagine running that fast. And then because I've seen the track, and as you go, folks, past the straightaway on the track, then you come to this, like Terry says, a 30-mile-per-hour hairpin turn. But, Terry, what's it like when you go through that little curvy section and almost come to a stop after going 160 to 200 miles an hour, and then as you come back out onto the track from the infield on that number 1 turn, and you have the freedom to nail the throttle? What's that like at that particular point?
I've taken a ride in the new Audi. I think I talked to you about that. I think I just done it that day, went back during the Rolex series, and that was the intensity of heading down toward turn 1, and then all of a sudden it's like, he's not going straight. He's not going straight. And you dive into that infield. But coming out of the infield, you're climbing that 31-degree banking and accelerating as hard as you can go. And as you accelerate, suddenly the G-forces change from impacting you into the seat into pushing you up against the right side of the car as you increase your speed going through turn 2 and 3. And then you hit the backstretch, and you see this backstretch, and from the NASCAR guys, that's a straight long backstretch, almost a mile long. And you look, and there's this giant red X right in the middle of the track, almost 3/4 of the way down that backstretch, and that's where the chicane is. And once again, you got to slow that thing down and dive through that chicane. I can tell you, when we were in that Audi, that was an experience, especially with a four-wheel drive, four-wheel steering. That was an experience going through that, what they call the bus stop, and once again, climbing the banking, going back up into turn 3 and 4, and headed back around to the tri-oval. You transition from accelerating back into the seat to pushing hard to the right, and it's amazing how the G-forces change and move around. Even for coming into the braking zones, think about that. You decelerate, and that Audi was unbelievable when it came to braking, and you literally are hanging above lap after lap. They're running, I believe, minute 35 for a 3.56-mile lap.
One quick question. We got about 30, 40 seconds before the break. With the 2-hour, 40-minute IMSA WeatherTech 240 there at Daytona, I understand that there are 3 classes that run during this same 2 hour and 40 minute. So they're all running different speeds, or at least the 3 different classes run 3 different speeds, correct?
Correct.
Well,
you're going to have.
It's amazing. It amazes me. And have you actually been on the track with other cars?
Not on. Well, yes. When I ran the infield road course, we were spaced apart, but not passing other cars. Usually one car at a time when I've done ride-alongs, which you've been there for. You don't put 2 or 3 out there. I've done the Richard Petty driving experience and driven the NASCAR 2.5 with other cars, and that was an experience that I recommend everybody do if you ever get the chance to take some laps around Daytona.
Terry, stay right there. We've got a hard break. I have a question when I come back. Folks, don't go away. Coolant leaks are never fun, but they can be especially challenging if you're far from home and repair shops are closed, like many right now. It pays to be prepared. Keep an emergency road kit in your vehicle, and inside should be a number of items, including K-Seal. K-Seal is a pour-in solution that helps stop cooling system leaks. It features ceramic technology designed to repair the leak without clogging. K-Seal is available nationwide at parts stores like Napa Auto Parts. Check NapaOnline.com for store hours and shipping options. That's K-Seal. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. it. As we kick off National Car Care Month in the midst of COVID-19, making sure your vehicle is road ready has never been more important. The Car Care Council remind you it's the perfect time for a thorough check of various vehicle maintenance items like brakes, batteries, tires, cooling system, filters, headlights, and the exhaust system. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe and dependable. It's National Car Care Month. Are you car care aware? Learn more at carcare.org. That's carcare.org. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2009 RX 350 Lexus came in with 85,000 miles and a loud noise in the front suspension. Now, a lot of noise-related repairs can be difficult to pinpoint, but this one was easy. Left front strut locked in the upright position, causing a banging noise even over the slightest bump. Solution? Replace all struts. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered 4 new strut assemblies and also made the decision to buy Master Pro brand, which has performed really well for our previous repairs. We also performed our pre-repair brake fluid procedure while we had the wheels off to save our customer possible caliper issues later on. A 4-wheel alignment and balancing all tires made this 10-year-old Lexus drive as new. Our service team was happy, our customer was happier, and we know we made another great choice by collaborating with our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy 4th of July, folks. We're live from the center of the Automotive Universe, and we're talking with Terry Sabiston, Motorsports Director for WNDB, our affiliate in Daytona Beach. And Terry, just I guess one final question there. What's the mood like in Daytona Beach at all? I mean, surrounding and communities in Ormond Beach, and what's it like to be there now?
It's semi-normal. You know, a lot of people are still out doing stuff, and if you're at risk, you tend to stay home. You keep it. You know, you're cautious, but you got to. You know, the economy here is tourist-based, and you've got to. That's what keeps us going. We just here in Florida, they shut down the bars again, so that's a factor that is cutting down on people getting out later. And the younger audience, I think, is a lot of that. But it's a transition, and we've learned how to stay at home, and that's, I think, our focus now. My wife just moved her. She worked at home for a while, went back to work, and now they've moved her back working at home again. At the radio stations, we're still the front door is locked. We don't, prize giveaways. If we give anything away, we get your name and give it to the client, and then you pick it up from them and give them your name, so you're not coming into the radio station. We're keeping the radio station as secure as we can. We got people there that are at risk, that have to do their jobs every day, so we want to keep them safe. It's a cautious attitude, but then you got to remember, it's Daytona. This is Florida, and getting out and enjoying life is what it's about, and that's why we live here. And so you got to do those things, and you got to, like I say, 5,000 people at the track today. It's be cautious, have fun and enjoy life, and I think that's what we all want to do on the 4th of July and celebrate. How proud we are to be part of the United States of America and where we're at on Independence Day. You know, I remember this day, 1984, when Richard Petty won his 200th race and Ronald Reagan was here. You know, this day brings back great memories for me here at Daytona International Speedway, and that's what I'm going to thrive on, is the fact that we have cars on track on the 4th of July, and that's a big deal here at Daytona.
Yeah, it is a big deal, and again, from an economic standpoint, hats off to all of the execs at the Daytona International Speedway, and all of the participants, and all the race, and all of what it takes to put one of those events together. So I want to thank you for always being there, for giving us up-to-date and live reports from Daytona, from the racing community. Mine is not a racing show per se. It's a help program where I can help people better communicate with their local service shops. But I'll tell you what fun it is to hear from you, and to know that we still have some normalcy going on, especially tonight. And again, in recap, a 2-hour and 40-minute WeatherTech 240 there at Daytona starts and rolls off at 6:05 p.m. It's going to be fun. The lights will be on as needed. And Terry Sabiston, always great to hear from you. I appreciate you, man. And hats off to you and your teammates there in WNDB and 93.3 FM.
Thank you, Bobby. And I got to say hats off to Daytona International Speedway and the staff there. They've done an outstanding job of making this as safe as possible and keeping us where we can have fun at the racetrack, but be safe too. And we're going to build on this. We've got a race scheduled for August, so hopefully we'll have more fans back then, and we'll be able to let you know exactly how excited it is to be at the Daytona International Speedway when NASCAR returns here. It's missing here in July, but we got that gap filled by IMSA. But we'll be back here at Daytona in August, at the end of August, right before Labor Day, kicking up NASCAR guys on this track. So looking forward to that, Bobby, and thank you for letting me be a part of the Bobby Likis Show. And enjoy this Independence Day weekend.
Thank you, my friend. Be safe. So there you have it, folks. That just doesn't get any better than that. Happy 4th of July. Just here's another tidbit of information about today. When the initial battles in the Revolutionary War broke out in April 1775, few colonists desired complete independence from Great Britain, and those who did were considered radical. On June 7, when the Continental Congress met at the Pennsylvania State House, later Independence Hall, in Philadelphia, the Virginia delegate Richard Henry Lee introduced a motion calling for colonies' independence. Amid heated debate, Congress postponed the vote of Lee's resolution, but appointed a 5-man committee. Now, guess who they were? I doubt. Can you, John, do you have any idea, a clue? Well, it's too late. You should have been listening. The question was the committee that Congress, they postponed the vote on Lee's resolution, and they appointed a 5-man committee, including, and get these names, folks, Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, John Adams of Massachusetts, Roger Sherman of Connecticut, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, and Robert R. Livingston of New York, who drafted a formal statement justifying the break with Great Britain. Just another tidbit of information about today's Independence, 4th of July. Let's take a call from New Mexico. And Tim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today.
Good morning, Bobby. How you doing?
Terrific, man.
Very good. I'm on a delivery today, so I'm usually sitting with my laptop, but today I'm making a delivery, so wanted to call in and say what the gas prices were.
Well, please do share that with us. And as a matter of fact, before you do that, I will give now, folks. Here's the U.S. and according to the government site that I get my information from, the gas prices. The average U.S. regular gasoline price is $2.17. That is up from this time last week. It's down from this time last year, and the highest price in the U.S. is on the West Coast, $2.75. So in New Mexico, Tim, what about there?
We got $1.78 today, so we're up, I think, 5 cents from last week. I think
$1.78. Well, you know, it's
yes,
the gap closens. Let's see. There's $1.98 and $1.87 here on the Gulf Coast, and then in lower Atlantic, $1.98. But any way you look at it, $2 a gallon gasoline, when it hasn't been that long, we were looking at $4. That's a big deal, Tim.
Big deal. Yes, sir. We can afford to do things and have fun and everybody have a great weekend.
Well, I want to wish you're on the road today, and you're delivering
Yes, sir.
You're delivering a car, van, truck, SUV. What's your deal?
I guess it's a Toyota SR5 4Runner, so 4x4, 2020. Sticker price is $41,609.
And where are you going?
I'm going about 70 miles from Alamogordo to Las Cruces. And they said be careful because their numbers are coming up dramatically. So I've got my mask, my gloves, and my hand cleaner and all that.
Well,
so meeting the customer at a dealership.
I hear you. Well, be safe, and I applaud you. What's the traffic like today?
There is virtually nobody out. I can see nobody behind me for as long as I can see. I got one in front of me and two semis in the other lane.
Wow. Well, you're coming through clear as a crystal. You have a great connection there with your cell. So drive safe, be safe, and thank you ever so much. It's been great over the past several months to have you to call in from Alamogordo, New Mexico, and today from the interstate, from the road, to share gas prices in that neck of the woods. And always love to have you join us every Saturday. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thanks you. Everybody be safe. Yeah, be healthy, and hope everybody's on board. Listen to you again next week, and then from there on. So
very good. Thanks, Tim. Be safe, man.
Thank you.
So that's an interesting occupation that this man has. I meant to ask him what his profession was along his lifetime, but what he does now, folks, and he's a listener, of course, to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. He delivers new cars, well, and some used, I'm sure, from one dealership to another or wherever. And that's very interesting because for me, in my career working in automobiles and owning an automotive service shop, I could get to drive in almost any car that you could think of. So whenever I got maybe interested in some new car, I would always be able to, and have been for almost all my life, to drive that car before I buy it. Now, to that end, I would give you some information. If you're thinking about buying a new car or a used car, what you might do is, if that car is available at Enterprise or Hertz or Avis or one of those rental cars, is to rent that car first. Now, granted, the rental car normally, the rental car that you might rent will not have all the bells and whistles. Of course, today that's almost not quite accurate, because even the cars that you rent have satellite radio, they have navigation systems, they have power windows and seats and what have you. And here's the reason why. The rental companies buy those cars. We pay them to rent them, and then they get to write off the new car price. So not only are we paying the cost of their car with profit, they get to capture all of the write-off for the loss of the value of the car. And just for your information, when you buy a new car and you drive it across the curb, you're going to take a 25 to 30% hit in the value of that car. And that's why it's always important when you're looking at a new car, and I love to shop for new cars. I'm helping my daughter now choose a new used car. And I've recommended a Lexus NX, which is the smaller than an RX. It's less expensive, but I think it's going to be a great automobile. A good friend of mine bought one locally and loves it. And it has lots of bells and whistles, including, and get this, a power front seat on the passenger side, which my friend's wife, Jean, said, no, whatever car we get, whether it's used or new, it's got to have a power seat on the passenger side. So here was a car that they bought at a used car. It was a 19, and it had, I think, 13,000 miles on it. And it has made a beautiful automobile for them. So when you're thinking of buying a new car, go rent one, if you can rent one like that. If you can't, then certainly go to a dealership and say, I want to road test one of these cars. And when you road test a new car or a used car, don't just go around the block, which is typical. There's like, near the dealership, because the dealership really, they don't want to give you the car to take home and drive over the weekend because of the liability there. But what you can do is you take that car and you drive that car on roads and streets that you're familiar with. And what that will do is give you an idea of how it stops and feels and how it takes certain railroad tracks that you go over that are kind of bumpy. And this will give you a better feel of what this new car, because when you buy a new car, and folks, when you buy a new car, most of, except for high performance cars like the Corvette, obviously, new cars do not have real stiff suspensions because they're all new joints, and so they put a softer suspension so that you would have an enjoyable new car. Anyway, just a little food for thought. Heartbreak. When I come back, I'll take your call to 888 Car Clinic. Spring has sprung and summer's around the corner. We're all hoping for a return to some normalcy, which means road trips to the beach, the lake, grandma's house, and other favorite vacation spots. A little preventive vehicle maintenance now will help you avoid trouble ahead. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and roadworthy. While you're there, order your copy of the free Car Care Guide for your glove box. Go to carcare.org. That's carcare.org. Bobby Likis here. When you have rusty nuts and bolts, use PB Blaster. Of course, sometimes you end up spraying more than you need. Well, not anymore. Blaster's new Pro Straw with Control Flow technology is a better way to spray with a new flip-up clear plastic straw and a cool volume adjuster to control the flow from a wide spray down to just a drop. It's more precision and less mess, and no one else has it. Look for the new Blaster Pro Straw on cans of PB Blaster and Multimax synthetic lubricant. Always use Blaster products and work it like a pro.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
I'm glad to have you join us today, folks. This is Bobby Likis with Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and the year 28 for us on the radio. If you have a particular car question about tires or oil or gas or fuel or turbochargers or new cars, used cars, heaven forbid, if you buy a used car, I don't care if it's got 10,000 miles on it, take it to a third party and have it what's called a pre-purchase inspection performed on it, because there could always be some issues with a used car, and you better be safe than sorry. You'll pay for that, but it will save you dollars in the meantime. During the break, if you heard the Blaster commercial, Blaster is a partner of ours. You may know this company from PB Blaster, which is the #1 penetrant for breaking free rusted or stuck parts. Well, I recently had a conversation with one of the Blaster reps,
And PB Blaster has an awesome new innovation, and it's the neatest. You know, I mean, I get excited about things automotive, but I mean, how do you get excited about the push button of a spray can? Well, it's a Pro Straw, and it has control flow technology. What that means is not only can you control the flow and the amount from a wide spray, but you can tweak it down to just a drop of lubricant. And there's nothing worse than trying to lubricate one spot of one particular, for instance, let's say you were going to lubricate a sticky latch or a window lock or a door lock or something, and you go to spray it and it's everywhere. Well, that's what the Pro Straw stops. It gives you the control. It's really a neat, I love it. So anyway, I was talking with a Blaster rep, and he gave me a Blaster gift pack. And next week, I'm going to give away a Blaster gift pack. And the gift pack includes the entire suite. It's not just 2 cans of garage. It's like all the Blaster products. And let me just share a few of them with you. It's the original PB Blaster, Multimax multi-purpose lubricant, citrus base degreaser, garage door lube. I used this several weeks ago, and this stuff really works. PB infused lithium grease, and of all my favorite greases, I'm a car guy. I like the lithium. Why? Because that started years ago when I bought a couple of Sea-Doos with a friend. We had a pair, and I bought a trailer. And before the trailer was ever put, brand new trailer, I took the lens off, I took the light bulbs out of the little tail lights that hang on the back of a trailer, and sprayed lithium grease, because lithium is waterproof. And we never lost a light bulb. Now, why is that significant? Because we backed this trailer into salt water at the beach. So this PB-infused lithium grease from Blaster, it's a great product. Brake cleaner, we all can use brake cleaner. Dry lube, dry lube. No, that's not an oxymoron. It's used where you need lube, but not the liquid type of lube, and much more. Plus, they're going to send me, for you, a Blaster t-shirt, a keychain, and a Blaster hat. This may be the largest giveaway we've ever done. So what I would like for you to do in the meantime, this is for next week now. So don't miss next week's program. It'll be July 11. This may be the largest giveaway. Drive over to blastercorp.com and check out all the terrific Blaster products, and make sure you tune in next week, and I'll be giving away this Blaster gift pack. It'll come in a big box, too. It's really cool. Great product. Okay, I'll open the phones again for you and invite you to call. Jonathan is working our calls today, and quite candidly, with John working the board as our producer and Jonathan taking your calls, Miss Millie is MIA today. So, John, we all figure that she just thought we would not be broadcasting live today. I mean, that's the only reason, because she's a no-show, and she's a very responsible. She's going to be embarrassed. So next week, folks, when you call, say, well, Millie, we heard Bobby talking about you last week. You were a no-show. Where were you? That'll be terrible. Okay, that's all right. Never mind. It's all right. I'm not cruel. I'm just having fun. Bobby Likis Car Cleaning is brought to you in part by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats, caps, and engine management products. Motorrad will help make sure your car is road ready during these uncertain times, folks. You can learn more at motorrad.com. Motorrad.com. .org. .net. What other dots are there, John? Let's see, how many? Is that it? See, it's org, gov, .org, .com, .net. I don't know. Folks, help me out here. 888 Car Clinic. How many dots are there? I mean, dots a good question, right? 888-227-2546. I didn't say that just now. I think I did. Let's see. 4th of July. 7 events that led to the American Revolution. On July 2nd, the Continental Congress voted in favor of Lee's resolution for independence in a near unanimous vote. The New York delegation abstained, but later voted affirmatively. On that day, John Adams wrote to his wife, Abigail, that July 2nd will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival and that the celebration should include pomp and parade, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other. And later on, it was decided that July the 4th, and the Continental Congress formally adopted the Declaration of Independence, which has been written largely by whom? John, you have the answer to that?
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. What a brilliant. Have you read the book on, have you read about that gentleman? Well, there's a dear friend of mine.
He's one of my heroes.
Is he your hero? Well, there's a dear friend of mine, Dee Dee, here in town, and from what I understand, he is also her hero. I mean, I think she compares everyone to Thomas Jefferson, and that's a real problem for everyone. That's not fair. That is not a fair thing to do, to compare someone who has such an illustrious career and brought so much to everyone of us today. So I hope she doesn't compare me to him. Okay, I'm a car guy. I'll take that part. Let's shift gears. No pun intended. No pun intended. 888-227-2546 is your number to call. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh yeah, I want to share this with you while Jonathan's talking to a couple of people right now. As we continue to expand our global outreach to even more platforms, folks, here's how you can stay up to date with the latest and greatest in our automotive history. If you'd like to hear today's broadcast, or maybe you're on the road, or maybe you didn't catch all of a screener call, you can watch the Car Connect live at watchbobbylive.com. I'll wave to everyone out there in HD video from our all-digital studio every Saturday right here from 10 till noon Eastern Time. 10 till noon Eastern Time. And if you missed the Car Connect broadcast, or you want to re-listen to my dialogue with a caller, no worries. You can find us on Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and I would ask you from one friend to another to like Bobby Likis on Facebook. That's Likis, and follow Bobby Likis on Twitter, and you receive the latest updates. So all that being said, let's take a call from Harold in Florida, my home state. Harold, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Connect.
Can I fuel the fire about Millie?
Say again, because I want to make sure that everybody hears what you said.
Can I fuel the fire about Millie?
Yes, you can. She's now. You and I have to agree on one thing.
She no-showed for me last night.
Really?
She's MIA.
Really? Well, Harold,
Bobby, you're the one that started it. I'm fueling the fire.
Oh! I thought maybe you were her husband or something. I mean, gosh, I took you seriously there. Harold, you're a cruel guy. John says I'm cruel. John says I'm cruel. You're the guy that's cruel.
I said, can I fuel the fire?
Yeah, well, you're doing it now. Let me tell you this. How many Millies have you had that didn't show? Talking about
one.
Cruel. Oh! You sound like some guy to me. It's just what else would a man say? But so you never had never been stood up before.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
You are too much. You are too. What do you?
Hey, I've got an '84 Mercedes. Can you fix it?
I can fix anything. '84 Mercedes. I can tell you what color vacuum lines run through the doors that operate the diaphragms that open and close the locks. I can tell you the operating pressure of the K-Jetronic fuel system. I can tell you the accumulator. You name it, I got it.
The 99-cent question is, how much are you going to charge me?
Well, it's Saturday. It's July the 4th. It's Independence Day.
What is your shop rate?
Well, that's something. I don't even go there, because this is the radio portion of Bobby Likis, not the automotive service
I know
portion.
you don't own this, okay, but I did mail you down. Now, let me tell you the one car. What's the top 5 foreign cars that you suggest to the average person not to ever own?
Audi, Volkswagen, BMW.
Mercedes.
That would be number 5. That would be number 5 on the list. So Audi would be
and
first.
How about Jaguar?
Well, since Ratan Tata bought Jaguar, he wrote a blank check, and he could write it, and he said to his team, reinvent this car. And they did a whale of a job. And I will say this, and I can't wait for the 2021 EV Jag to come out, because I ordered mine special made in 2013. I've got 73,000 miles.
2013?
2013.
Ooh, okay.
And I will tell you, I have 72,000 miles. And Harold, my car is drop dead gorgeous. It has a special one-off color. It has leathers and wood and screens and trays in the back. And it has 11.5 to 1 compression ratio. It gets 26.7 mpg at 79 miles per hour average. And it does it consistently every time. And I will say that even though it's expensive, that car, with all of the options that I ordered, was the biggest bang for the buck that you could buy on the luxury car scale. Because, like a Mercedes, that today would be $130,000. And I'm concerned that the new EV Jag is going to be over 100 as well. And like a Tesla. Oh, by the way, Harold and folks, this week there's yet another car company that jumped into the fray, and it's called Lucid. Harold, you ever heard of that company? Probably not.
No, but I was going to ask you about the company that bought the plant up in Ohio. Help me on that one. It's near Youngstown. I think it's called Lordstown.
It's Lordstown. Was General Motors. What didn't they? I thought.
But this other guy just bought it out a few years back, revamping.
Yeah, but that name escapes me. But GM at one time, in fact, Roush was on this program driving, and he was the president of GM at the time. It's on our website. Go to Bobby Shares a Mic With. Go to Car Clinic Network, and then scroll down on the right-hand side, Bobby Shares a Mic With, and you'll see the name of the gentleman. He was president of GM, and they spent $500 million in Lordstown, Ohio, to renovate that plant. If that's the same plant you're talking about that someone else bought. But shift gears to Lucid, the coefficient of drag, point in anywhere in the threes is good. 0.31. This one is 0.21, and we tried to upload a video that I sent to John this week, and this video was the car on test track running 217 miles per hour on electric power. So I'm really interested, and I'll tell you what, it really is a beautiful car. It looks like a redesigned. Well, I started to say Tesla, but that's not true. I would say it's a combination. Well, you'd have to say just Google it, because I wouldn't want to compare the Lucid.
You don't know much about the Lordstown plant that's in operation.
I do not.
I think it's all electric pickup trucks.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I've heard that. I thought you said it was some individual, but that's GM is doing that.
No, someone bought it from GM, and I think it's the guy you're talking about.
No, that's California company. Lucid, California company. Rivian.
No, I'm talking about Lordstown.
I know.
It was bought out by an individual
I know.
for $500 million.
I know, but the Lucid is a California company, and you thought that was it, and the answer is no. It was probably Rivian. I think Rivian is the name of that company that are building the trucks. And so is Elon Musk. Hey, Harold, thank you so much for your call. We had a hard break coming up. Always, I appreciate you, and good luck.
Jim Petty has local bay shrimp for sale.
Folks, don't you wish you lived in Pensacola, Florida? That's the Jim.
Local bay shrimp. The taste is just like fresh mullet from the sea.
Great. Hey, Harold, thank you so much. Folks, I want to share this with you, and then I'll do this when I come back. I see Ed is also in the queue from North Platte, Nebraska, and I invite your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is being brought to you this morning by Grundy Insurance. You can protect your prized collector car the right way with Grundy Agreed Value Insurance, which gives you 100% of the value of your car in the event of a total loss. Learn more at Grundy.com.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, here's a great story for you. One of our listeners had to fly from Oregon to Maine to pick up his daughter and drive back home across country. She had an older Trailblazer that was not particularly well maintained. They rented a U-Haul, packed everything, and began the trek home. Shortly into the trip, the engine began to run hot due to a leaking radiator. The initial thought was, of course, to find a local shop that could help, but with shelter-in-place orders all around the country, that was difficult. They did find an auto parts store and purchased a bottle of K-Seal along with some coolant. K-Seal stopped the leak, and they finished their trip without any additional coolant leakage. Now, more than ever, it really pays to be prepared. Maintain an emergency road kit and be sure to include, among other items, a bottle of K-Seal. You can find K-Seal at fine parts stores nationwide, like Advance Auto Parts, and you can check the store website for hours and shipping information. And remember, if you have a coolant leak, don't seal it, K-Seal it. And remember, if you have a cooling system leak, don't just seal it, K-Seal it. For more information, go to kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And special welcome to a special program. Happy 4th of July. That's right. Today is July the 4th, 2020. I'm Bobby Likis. Proud to be your host. Just consider me your personal car consultant for the next hour. So if you have a particular question about your car or your SUV or truck or whatever you drive, or your lawnmower, if it's got an internal combustion engine, and if you have an EV car, you don't need to ask many questions except when to charge the battery. Hey, the difference between the repair bill of an EV and the repair bill of an internal combustion engine, an ICE, is staggering. So there are a lot of pluses for EV cars, and I'm not here. I don't sell cars, but I do. I think I may be buying one. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Blaster Corporation, makers of PB Blaster, the #1 penetrant for breaking free rusted parts. You can always use Blaster products and work it like a pro. What's the difference between a penetrant and a lubricant? Think about it. I mean, it's not a strange question, but it is for me. I'm a car guy. Well, a lubricant is like you use engine oil that lubricates the parts, so you keep a film of oil separating the metal parts. But a penetrant penetrates and gets in where the rust goes. Really, kind of think about it. If you think about it, when I come back, we'll take your calls. Jonathan will at 888 Car Clinic. Folks, you should always carry a pair of jumper cables in your car and make sure you know which terminal of the battery is positive, which is red, and which terminal is negative, which is black. So hook the black cable to the black terminal and hook the red cable to the red terminal on the good car and bad car. And make sure you park your cars close together so that your cables can reach. For detailed information about how to do this, go to autobatteries.com, courtesy of Clarius. At autobatteries.com, you'll also find information about recycling, technology, testing, and maintenance. That's autobatteries.com, courtesy of Clarius.
O'Reilly Auto Parts has everything you need for summer car maintenance, and our professional parts people can help you find the best oil change supplies for your car. Get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $28.99, plus a $7 gift card after mail-in rebate. For your summer oil change, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You've heard me talk about Motorrad's leading the way with automotive thermostats, fuel, oil, and coolant caps. Now, Motorrad's using their expertise in Tier 1 OEM facilities to deliver advanced engine management solutions. Products like camshaft and crankshaft sensors, ignition coils, mass airflow sensors, even variable valve timing solenoids. And Motorrad's aftermarket products are designed and manufactured to meet or exceed original equipment specifications. Learn more about Motorrad products and industry-leading application coverage at Motorrad.com.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome, folks. Happy 4th of July. The 4th of July, also known as Independence Day, has been a federal holiday in the U.S. since 1941, but the tradition of Independence Day celebrations goes all the way back to the 18th century and the American Revolution. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence, and 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence, a historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. From 1776 to present day, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence, with festivities ranging from fireworks, parades, and concerts to more casual family gatherings and barbecues. So, happy 4th of July to all of you out there. Thanks for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Jonathan will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. We'll go to North Platte, Nebraska, and welcome Ed. Ed, thank you so much for holding. Happy 4th of July, and again, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby, and happy Independence Day to you as well. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome, sir. My pleasure.
Okay. I've got just recently purchased actually a 2011 Lincoln MKX, and it's got the all-wheel drive package.
Right.
And I've noticed online that there's been some issues with that power transfer unit. Unfortunately, mine apparently, and I haven't gotten under the car yet, but according to the dealership, they checked the VIN number. According to the dealership, anyway, my power transfer unit does not have any access to the interior of the case at all. The car's got 93,000 miles on it. I don't believe the transfer unit has ever been replaced. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, any gearbox, and of course that's a gearbox, would have to have some methodology by which to fill that gearbox with lubricant, with oil, with gear oil. So while there's no access, perhaps that gearbox is integrated with the adjacent gearbox, because it's a transfer case, right?
It is. It is actually a completely separate unit. It bolts up to the side of the transmission, and it's right next to the catalytic converter. And from what I've read, this unit gets hot. Apparently, not in all applications, but gets hot, and it actually oxidizes the oil, and the oil, of course, then turns to grease, and it doesn't lubricate the interior. And the only access, I think, that's even on the entire unit is the vent, which is on top of the unit, which is completely inaccessible.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've read online where some folks have actually drilled the bottom of the case and tapped and threaded it, and been able to. My local dealership, I talked to him about it, and the maintenance guy, and he recommended that maybe I put some, probably use a syringe, and put some automatic trans fluid up in that case, and screw the plug back in, and put it on jack stands and let it run for 15 or 20 minutes, and then just dump that oil back out, and do that 2 or 3 or 4 times until the oil is clear. And then I read online where some guys have actually used a syringe with new oil and injected it into the hole on the bottom of the unit, and then swiftly, I'm not sure how swift I am, but swiftly reinstalled the plug before the oil drains out. And
well,
that's the only remedy that I can come up with.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm confused, because I thought you said there were no plugs or no openings to that unit, and that's what confused me. Other than the vent, which is we can forget that. All mechanical gearboxes must be vented because of heat and cold, and expansion and contraction. Right. Otherwise it would blow the seals out. But so right. Is there a drain? There's no drain plug, right?
There's no drain on it. What I've seen online is where some folks have actually drilled the bottom of the aluminum case and threaded it, and then screwed a plug in the bottom of the case, and that way they were able to remove the fluid if it runs out. From what I've seen in some of the pictures, it's just simply turned to grease, but and that's how they've been able to access it. And I just wondered if you had any experience with that and could make any recommendation.
Ed, I have not, but my only concern with a drain plug is, number one, where do you specifically locate the hole so that you don't get involved in drilling into internal parts? Although if there's a sump in it, which all gearboxes have a sump, there's going to be an obvious place where you drill a hole. But how thick is the casing there? And do you use then, you can't use a plug with a gasket because you have no spot face. You have no flat face of which a closure plug with a gasket could seal. The bottom of the case being, I'm sure it's not perfectly flat. And even if it were, when I say spot face, do you know what I'm speaking of?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay. All right. So there's no. To me, if I were to do what you're proposing, two things. I'd want to know how much fluid the unit holds, so that you can fill it back up properly, and you could do that. Well, no, you couldn't do that with a. See, some transmissions that look like they have a drain pan plug, that actually is not a drain pan. You just remove the plug, and when the temperature of the oil gets hot, there's a standpipe in there, and you just simply uncover the standpipe. But that's in an automatic transmission. With this unit, that's not the same, because you don't have that flat surface. So I think that's a good idea to change. I know it's a good idea to change the fluid. I'm just I've not seen one, so I don't have any experience. Okay. But I'm going to check into that. So before you go drilling any holes, I'll make that a project this week, and I'll ask around. And I know the owner of the local Lincoln Mercury dealership here. Someone there, they've got to have some idea. But here's the bottom line: have you ever seen any kind of gearbox, like even a supercharger? There always is an access point to put lubricant where you have gears, and not necessarily to drain it.
I totally agree with you. It definitely isn't one of Ford's better ideas.
Well, speaking of that, Ed, several years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, Ford came out with 150,000-mile automatic transmission fluid. And so people would call me and say, Bobby, Ford says this is 150,000 mile fluid. I said, well, how long do they guarantee the transmission? Oh, well, so you get the point, Ed. So the sales, go ahead.
You know what I was going to say is, if you don't mind, I'll be glad to give you my email address to Jonathan.
Please do.
And if you want to send me that, then that'd be the simplest way, I think, to communicate it.
That'll be great. Yeah. So let's put Ed. So thank you so much for calling from North Platte, and let's put Ed back on hold, and Jonathan can get his email, and also Jonathan, give Ed my email address, my personal email address. In the meantime, let's go to Fred in Missouri, and folks, your calls are important to me. This is a live broadcast. It's July the 4th, 2020, and this is a live time, 10 till noon every Saturday, and this Saturday's no different. 888-227-2546. Fred, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, good morning, Bobby.
Morning, sir.
And happy 4th of July to you. I'm glad you're on today. I was worried about that.
Thank you so much. What can I do for you?
Well, I told Jonathan, I think it was 2014, but I got a 2007 Toyota RAV4.
Okay.
With about 130,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
I bought this used from a good friend that I know pretty much performed maintenance. He did oil changes every time the light came on, and told him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then since I've had it, I've changed the oil every 5,000 miles with full synthetic.
Good.
In what's recommended. I've had it for about 4.5 years now. I have found that what I'm getting is I'm losing about 1 quart of oil every 1,000 miles.
Wow.
In this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And I see no smoke out the exhaust. I park it in the same spot at work and at home, and I've looked, and I have no evidence of any oil leakage.
Mm-hmm.
I pressure washed the engine about 500 to 1,000 miles before my next oil change was due.
Mm-hmm.
Took it up to the place where the mechanic that does my oil changes, asked them to look for oil leaks. They could find nothing that was anywhere close to that amount of oil usage.
Well, stay right,
and I was wondering if you had any ideas.
I do. We have a hard break, so Fred, stay right there, and folks, you stay right there. This is interesting conversations on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Don't go away. Spring has sprung, and with COVID-19 center stage, it's never been more important to be car care aware. The Car Care Council reminds you that April is National Car Care Month. Here are a few things you should consider as you prepare for the months ahead. April showers can bring hazardous driving conditions with slick, wet roads. It's a great time to make sure your brakes, tires, and windshield wipers are ready for the rain. Talking specifically about your brakes, how can you tell something's wrong? There are a number of signs. If your brakes are spongy or squealing, or if you can't stop without pumping, or other indicators include your car pulling to one side when stopping, your brake pedal sitting lower than normal, and your brakes requiring excessive pressure or grabbing with the least amount of pressure. Any of these symptoms mean you likely need your brakes inspected. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org. Vehicle reliability is always important, but now more than ever, your car or truck needs to start, run, and run well. Berryman and their family of products is here to help you maintain your vehicle, whether you're still commuting for an essential job or it's an occasional trip to the grocery or the pharmacy. Berryman B12 Chem Tool with HEST technology is a perfect pour-in solution which helps break down carbon deposits that may form while the vehicle is sitting and helps disperse moisture and dissolve gum and varnish. And Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel system management kit improves hard starting, rough idle, poor fuel economy, and overall drivability. And Berryman's B60 high mileage oil system rejuvenator cleans and protects the crankcase and engine oil system of all gas-powered vehicles, including those exceeding 60,000 miles. Since 1918, Berryman has been here to help consumers and repair shops alike. More information? Go to berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance. When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to the broadcast. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by autobatteries.com, powered by Clarios. Autobatteries.com, folks, features a wealth of information on vehicle batteries, from explaining how batteries work to how to replace batteries, how to test batteries, what's the proper maintenance on batteries, and no pun intended, but every car starts with your battery. Everything in your automobile, especially with today's electronic, not nightmares, but certainly a lot of electronics on today's cars. So go to autobatteries.com, courtesy of our partners, Clarios, and check it out. When you get ready to buy a new battery, I recommend an AGM battery, the absorbent glass mat battery, and Clarios makes more of those units than any other manufacturer. In fact, 1 out of every 3 batteries in every automobile is a Clarios in the world. How cool is that? We're talking with Fred in Missouri about a 2007 Toyota. So Fred, you change the oil every 5,000. It uses a quart of oil. It doesn't smoke and doesn't leak. So that leads me to believe that it is that the problem with this vehicle is stuck rings, oil rings, and I'll tell you why. And here's how you can probably detect that. Have a friend. Make sure the engine's up to operating temperature. Have a friend follow you on, I guess, the interstate road would be okay, and run that engine about 50. Run the car about 50 miles an hour. Nail the throttle, and put as much load on the engine as you possibly can. You're not going to hurt the engine. And then continue to accelerate up to about 75 or 80 miles per hour, and then back off, and then slow down to 50, and do that a couple of times with your friend watching the exhaust pipe, and you will see some vapor smoke, not vapor, but oil smoke, because the oil rings are the number one. When you have an engine that doesn't smoke and doesn't leak oil and uses oil, it generally speaking has an oil ring issue. And that reminds me so much of the North Star Cadillac engines that came out in the mid-90s. Really one of my favorite engines from Detroit. But they had some issues with, they were 300 horsepower, but the people that bought those cars were the older drivers, and they just drove them easy. And so they, around town. And as a result, the carbon would build up on the oil ring scraper, and the expansion coil, a little wafer, W-shaped spacer in between the two scraper oil rings would fill with carbon. And what we did, and what you might try after your test, what we did was we used an oil system cleaner, and it was a commercial grade cleaner, but I'm not sure that's what your problem is. I guess one thing you should do is, of course, check the PCV system, because if the PCV system, and now I want to shift gears again, the positive crankcase ventilation system either has an orifice or a check valve with orifice. And if it has an orifice, the valve cover, cam cover, would have multi-layer baffles so that the vapors of the crankcase, the pressure, which all engines have, it has to escape and it has to be vented, but it can't be vented to atmosphere. That's why it's called positive crankcase ventilation, because it's not vented to atmosphere, it's vented to the lungs of the engine. And as a result, these oil vapors, say Fred, and if I were to say McDonald's, and you look at the under hood of a McDonald's, you'll see all that grease over above stoves. That's oil vapors, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, the same thing. Every engine. See, PCV systems are a boon to environmental cleanliness for us, but they're death to an engine, because all those vapors of that pressurized crankcase travel and put a mist of oil. Now, there are oil separators, and every engine has oil separators, and so those vapors have to go through a series. Like think of a fair, a county fair with glass doors or mirrors, where you have to house of mirrors you have to walk through. So the vapors have to walk through or travel through W's, like an air filter, like a K&N air filter has free flow, more flow than a standard filter. And how do they filter? Well, the air goes in, but it has to go left, right, left, right, left. It has to go through a series of W-shaped material, and every time the air changes direction, whatever's in the air gets trapped because it's heavier than the air. So by the time the air goes through that filter, same thing is true for a PCV in an automobile. Having said that, and Jaguar had this problem early on, the 4-liter engines, 4.2 I think it was, V8s, there's a little screen in the top of the valve cover, and that screen would clot. And when it did, it would no longer allow the oil that was trapped, that was part of the PCV system, to drain back into the engine. And so once this carbon buildup and sludge, a little bit of sludge goes a long way, it would sludge the screen up, and then the oil would just go by the screen and go to the PCV, and they would use oil. And we've had severe Jag problems with some Jaguars that the owner didn't drive them much, and then you got moisture build up because you have short driving, and there's a myriad of reasons why this happens. So what do you do? Well, number one, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. Is what do you want? I mean, I've got a car that's 13 years old. It's got 130,000 miles on it. I don't want to tear the engine apart and rebuild it. So where do I go from here?
Well, I'd like is there an oil breather cap where you put the oil in that you can look down in, or is it also baffle, or have you looked?
I don't think I put, well, there's an oil cap.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it goes in at the top of one of the valve covers. I believe that's where it's at. I can't remember, but I think it's top of a valve cover that I could probably look in a little bit.
I think that's the first step, because that's the easiest step, and so I'm trying to make it easy.
I do work with a couple of guys that have been auto mechanics and are reasonably, they're not official, but they are reasonably knowledgeable on cars.
Okay.
And his work. So I've got resources that I can use for some of this.
Then what the first things first, and I'll be as short and brief as possible because we have other callers. The first thing first is to verify that the PCV system is in good shape, and the best way to do that would be to search online for PCV system layout of your particular engine, and then see if there's a valve or an orifice, and make sure that that's cleared and cleaned. Because if it's not, then it's gonna suck oil, and so that's the first thing. A smart car. We had a smart car come in that was fouled every plug with oil, and it was a PCV pencil that was the size of a number 2 lead pencil, and it was about an inch long, and the tip of this little pin broke off and allowed oil to be sucked out of the crankcase, and I can't tell. We fixed about 5 of those, and the PCV valve, they redesigned the valve on the smart car, on the 1-liter engine smart car, but they ignorantly located, or errantly, or I don't know, located the PCV valve under the intake manifold. You got to take the intake manifold off and look under it to get to the valve. Having said that, great design. And the new valve is not designed with the same material the old one was. Now, having said that, so verify the PCV system, and it's clean first. Even if you have to pull one of the valve covers to determine if there's any sludge. But if you change every 5,000 miles of synthetic, you won't have sludge in that engine. So I don't think that's a problem. But I do think that before you, and I don't know how many miles the car had on it when you bought it, but I do think that before you, maybe there was only slow in-town driving and non-aggressive driving, and that's one of the worst things you could do is to drive a car easily. Easily. In other words...
No, I understand that. Actually, I know this owner. He was my boss. He was a company rep. That traveled over the road as a salesman. This was his wife's car, but he used it at times. So I think he got quite a bit of highway usage. Okay. So I don't think that's an issue. Okay, but having said that, cruising down the highway is not as bad as stop and go and city driving and short trips, but still, without any WOT, wide open throttle, every engine will eventually. So what I want you to do is try to blow it up, and you're not going to hurt anything. And then there's one more thing. Let me just share this with you, and this is only because I'd like for you to test it. And you hear me talking about Berryman products, and they're great products. Yes, I do.
All right, Berryman makes an oil system rejuvenator. It has chemicals and additives that are not in oil because of governmental EPA reasons. But you can use it, and I recommend that. So I think this is the second step, after you've verified the PCV system, even if you have to pull a cover off, find out where the vent system is located, and find out where the filtration for that vent system is located, because it could easily be the underside of the valve cover on the vacuum side that could be given the problem. So that's the first thing you do, or whether there's a pipe that runs from the intake manifold throttle body to the valve cover. Those are the kind of things you want to look at first to make sure they're clean. And if they're all dripping oil, then you got a problem with the PCV system, and I'm hoping that's what it would be. If not, then go with your Berryman B60 oil system rejuvenator, and then take it out and run it and nail the throttle. And understand this: when you nail the throttle under wide open throttle, WOT, that engine is seeing more pressure on the pistons, and the pistons are higher RPM, are exercising, and under that aggressive driving, the rings get shaken, and if there's any carbon, it will tend to break loose carbon. And to that end, I'll let you go with this because we got a hard break. But Fred, one time a week, if not more, when I accelerate onto the on-ramp of an interstate, I nail my car and until it wide open throttle, till it shifts into that second gear, and like drag racing, just to keep this from happening to my car. Anyway, thanks for your call. Get back with me on the other side and let me know how it works. Spring has sprung and summer's around the corner. We're all hoping for a return to some normalcy, which means road trips to the beach, the lake, grandma's house, and other favorite vacation spots. A little preventive vehicle maintenance now will help you avoid trouble ahead. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and roadworthy. While you're there, order your copy of the free Car Care Guide for your glove box. Go to carcare.org. That's carcare.org. You've heard me talk about using PB Blaster for breaking free rusted parts. Well, now, with the Blaster Pro Straw, it's even better. But that's just one of the specially formulated products from the Blaster Corporation to fix, loosen, lubricate, penetrate, and conquer each job. There's Multimax synthetic lubricant, garage door lubricant, white lithium grease, and much more. So don't bust your knuckles, bust nuts with PB Blaster. Available at home, auto, or hardware store near you. Always use Blaster products and work it like a pro.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now, you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy 4th of July. We have been requested, I've talked about my 1980 VSOC or YSOC Classic Porsche 911. This car has 99,000 miles, but it's as new. And we're going to put a slideshow now on our watchbobbylive.com, which is very interesting. And Jonathan put this together, and John and Jonathan So, I say that because now any Jag that you replace the water pump on that has the V8 engine, the 5-liter engine, you better make sure you get the latest design, because there's still some original equipment, old design pumps in the queue out there on the shelves of parts stores. Anyway, say, do you have a starter issue, or did Jonathan just playing with me?
Well, it's kind of odd. I mean, you remember the old starters? You manually turned it, and you knew when to stop the key to start your engine. Now they're like automatic.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I
I mean,
weird. Yeah.
I had an issue the other day where my starter was like running for almost 15 seconds until the car started. I'm like, I'm not even touching the key. What the heck's going on there?
I know. It is strange. And to that end, sometimes I'll play games. I'll push the start button on my car, and of course, without touching the brake, it won't start. Then I got to go and bump, and I'll bump the brake, and at the same time, I'll let off the key so I can determine how long the electronics must see the brakes applied and the button pushed. And I'll tell you something. I'll tell you how long. Probably instantaneous. Whenever both functions, the brake is applied and you push the button, when it doesn't matter if it's 2 milliseconds. That's I'm sure there's some kind of a delay there of sorts to make sure, but it's not much of a delay. Like you're saying, once you push that start button and you got your foot on the brake, that starter is going to go into action. Now here's the issue, Jesse, and this happened.
Okay.
We had a Land Rover come in here that wouldn't crank. No matter what you push a button, and everything worked on the car, and it wouldn't crank, and it had no codes in the car. We did diagnostics and what have you, and you know what was wrong with it?
I'm very curious.
It was a bad starter.
Oh my God.
Really. Well, see, here's the problem. We were so tied up with and so enamored by and so filled with electronics, which is it the push button? Is it the computer? Is it and Johnny Bars, who's a dear friend of mine and a master ASE certified technician, and I were talking. I said, okay, Johnny, bypass the car. What do you mean? He says, you take power and go to the starter and put power at the solenoid, and we'll bypass this whole car. And he went down, and it didn't work. We said, but now that's like saying, you say, well, that's a simple thing to do, Bobby. Well, yeah, but if you're a doctor and you come in with a chest pain, let's do a heart surgery. Well, wait, doc, aren't there some tests we should do first? Anyway. So
I have a better idea, Bobby.
What's
I think
that?
You should come out with 4th of July toilet paper. I really think you should.
Oh, well,
you can retire.
Let me think about that. That's a rough question.
Happy Independence Day.
Thank you.
All of you. You guys are such the best people ever.
Thank you, my friend. And the same right back to you and all of our friends there in New York. We'd love to hear from you,
And hey, Millie, I know you're home. Happy 4th of July.
Oh, call her next week. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, let's go to Texas and take a call from Walter in Texas. Happy 4th of July. Walter, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. I have a question about my 2005 F-150.
Okay.
It has 98,000 miles on it, and I have a noise that at low speed sounds like a growl, and as the faster you go, it sounds more like a howl. I think it's the rear end, but that's my guess.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. And maybe you've already can tell me this. If you have a ring and pinion, which that's the differential you're talking about, if you have a ring and pinion noise, that noise will be affected by acceleration versus de-acceleration. So what I want you to do is to drive this vehicle at the highest level of noise. And let's say that's 60 miles an hour on a smooth road, if you can find a smooth road. And then test that noise. And then when I say test it, accelerate just moderately. You don't have to nail the throttle, but moderately accelerate. Let's say you're going 55 and it's going, and you accelerate up to 55 or 60. When it makes its noise, let off the accelerator altogether and see if it goes, and see if it goes away. If you can affect the noise level by changing the load on the ring and pinion, i.e. acceleration or deacceleration, then chances are you're going to have to buy a new ring and pinion gear. If you still have the same noise, albeit somewhat different, but more or less the same, and doesn't really change dramatically between acceleration and deacceleration, then you could have a simpler issue, which would be axle bearings or carrier bearings or pinion bearings. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've done what you said, and what happens is the pitch varies. If I speed up, the pitch gets higher. If I slow down, the pitch gets lower. But, I mean, not lower in volume, but lower in pitch. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, but what I'm speaking of, and think about it this way. Let's say that we have all good parts, except we have a loose or worn pinion bearing. And the bearing is worn, and it makes noise, but specifically the pinion has to have a preload so that it stays in proper alignment with the ring gear. And you know, okay, you know those old mix masters, hand mix masters, where you whip potatoes and you had a crank that had a gear that turned a round crank into a pivotal. In other words, that's what a ring and pinion does. It takes a drive shaft that's going lengthwise down the car and turns it 90 degrees to drive the rear wheel. Okay, so that's called a ring. It's hypoid, and because hypoid means it's lower than in the mid belt. It's lower on the ring gear. Anyway, not to go too heavily into that, except to say this: when a ring gear and pinion is assembled, there's about 6 to 8 thousandths backlash between the two gears. Meaning, if you didn't move the pinion and you had a dial indicator and you moved the ring gear, it would tick, 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 tick back and forth. It would move about 6 to 8 thousandths. After 100,000 miles, you can have 11, 12 thousandths of backlash, and it still won't affect because it's normal wear and polish. And those gears polish. The more miles you get on a ring gear and pinion, the more polished they become until some bearing starts to flake off and go bad, and then you have these metal shavings that go into the system and start to degrade the surface. Now, having said that...
Yep, I understand that.
Okay, having said that, when you set up a ring gear and pinion, they're so close that if you took a piece of newspaper or regular paper, 2 thousandths of an inch, which is the size of a hair on your head, and you put it through the gear, anything bigger than that, you would cut the paper, because that's all the clearance there is. So that they're in very close proximity to that point. They're aimed specifically and held specifically in a very taut, loaded position. If they weren't, then every time you accelerated, the pinion is trying to climb up the ring gear, and when it tries to climb up, like climbing a ladder, it also tries to push away from the gear. You got me?
Sure. Okay,
so to that end, the first thing to do is to drain the differential fluid and take a look. No, that's not. Let me take that back. Stop. The first thing to do is to put this car on a rack and use a stethoscope and pinpoint where the noise is coming from. You know, drive it 15 miles an hour on the rack. You may have a problem with the ABS trying to, you may have to unplug some ABS sensors to make this happen. But do that and use a stethoscope and touch the stethoscope to the pinion area, not the part that moves, but the part that holds the pinion, and then the carrier bearings, which is on the big tubes of the housing, and then on each side of the axle. And you will find one that sounds like, and you'll find the one that's a culprit will go, except it'll be magnified. You'll hear it. Anyway, You got it?
Yep.
That's first thing. That's first step. And then after you get the noise and you find the culprit where the noise is coming from, you'll know where to tear it down. And if you have a question, you call me back next week and I'll help you through. Okay?
I'll do it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Walter. Well, folks, if you want to listen to Car Clinic broadcast or on the go, you can go to Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Spreaker, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. So we're just on and you can like us on Bobby Likis, Likis, on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Bobby Likis on Twitter. So with that, I'd like to remind you that next week I want to be giving away a complete package of Blaster. It's a gift pack with all of the PB Blaster, that's the company, and blastercorp.com. Go there, because I'm going to give away every product that they have, one lucky listener, Carton listener, including a Blaster t-shirt, a keychain, and a Blaster hat. So by all means, tune in next week, and by all means, have a safe rest of the 4th of July. For all the Car Clinic listeners, for everyone that tuned in, I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Insurance 101, courtesy of Grundy Insurance. What is a total loss? When a vehicle's damage is determined irreparable, or when the repair cost exceeds a certain percentage of the vehicle's insured value. There are several factors to consider, like damage that affects vehicle safety and lack of availability for specific parts. Grundy works with car collectors to prevent unnecessary total loss situations by providing agreed value insurance and offering the flexibility to adjust the insured value of your vehicle annually. Learn more about Insurance 101 at Grundy.com. That's Grundy.com. Folks, COVID-19's temporarily changed our everyday lives, and while many people are staying home, there's still plenty of people who depend on their vehicles to go to work. And even those at home need to get to the grocery store and pharmacy. Your vehicle's reliability has never been more important. Berryman Products is committed to providing the products needed to help maintain your vehicle, like the Berryman's Intake Valve and Combustion Chamber Cleaner Kit, which helps to restore power and remove economy-robbing carbon. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma